Hello everyone, thank you for tuning in to 20th Century Travelers. I'm so glad you came. My name is Olivia, and today we will be learning about the 1950s here in America and all that we did. So, World War II just ended, and we are all kind of angry at the world. So, what do? Create a whole bunch of laws and policies. Yay! So let's start in 1950 with the McCarran Internal Security Act, where the exclusion grounds and deportation of subversives were expanded. This act required communist organizations to register with the U.S. Attorney General. It also established the Subversives Activity Control Board to investigate people suspected of engaging in subversive activities or otherwise promoting the establishment of a totalitarian dictatorship, either fascist or communist. Members of these groups could not become citizens, and in some cases were prevented in both entering and exiting the countries. Citizens found in violation could lose their citizenship for 5 years. The act also contained an emergency detention statute, giving the president the authority to apprehend and detain each person of whom there is reason to believe that said person will probably engage in, or will conspire with those thought to be engaging in, acts of espionage or sabotage. This new act tightened alien exclusion and deportation laws and allowed for the detention of dangerous, disloyal, or subversive people in times of war or internal security emergency. The act also made picketing a federal courthouse a felony if intended to obstruct the court system or to influence jurors or other trial participants. Now, in 1952, there are multiple laws which governed immigration and naturalization, until the time when they were brought into one comprehensive statute. This reaffirmed the national origins quota system, limited immigration from the Eastern Hemisphere while leaving the Western Hemisphere unrestricted, established preferences for skilled workers and relatives of U.S. citizens and permanent resident aliens, and tightened security and screening standards and procedures, making doing anything not very much fun. Moving on to 1953 now, where the 1948 law is increased to admit 341,000 refugees per year, as opposed to the prior 200,000 allowed in. In this era, for the first time in U.S. history, more women than men entered the country. These people were reuniting with their families, joining with their GI husbands, taking part in the post-war economic boom. 38,000 Hungarian refugees were also coming in during this time, and a lot of craziness with Korea and Vietnam. But this continues into the 60s, so I won't be going much into that. The Korean War started June 25, 1950, when 75,000 soldiers attacked from the north. We quickly went in to help out the South. This was the first act of the Cold War, and many thought this would lead to the beginning of World War III if either Russia or China would have gotten involved, and was the first big fight to be recorded and shown to everyone back home. This fight would go on until '53 with a total of 5 million deaths. Basically, Japan had power over Korea from the early 20th century, but after World War II, Russia was put in charge of the North, and the US in charge of the South. This separation was along the 38th parallel, and neither dictator was happy with the amount of space they had, and there was some disagreements about how to do things. Sadly, 10,000 soldiers died in battle before the war even began. We were ready for the war against communism to begin, and helped push the Northerners back out of the South, and just passed the 38th parallel when the Chinese decided that they didn't want us to get too close to their border, and decided to join the fight. During this time, the United States government was trying to go in two different ways. President Truman was looking for ways to prevent war, whereas General MacArthur was looking for ways to provoke more war, who was later fired for insubordination in 1951. Peace talks start in July of '51 and a ceasefire is agreed upon, but no one can decide what to do with all of the prisoners until July of '53, when it is decided that these prisoners could choose what side they wanted to go on, which seems kind of obvious, but, government. The new border is redrawn with more space for the South and with a 2-mile-wide demilitarization zone. on to Mexico. We haven't really been friends with them since, well, ever. But in the previous video, Emily talked a little bit about the Mexican repatriation. The people coming over ended up having an influence not only on the 30s and 40s, but in the 50s as well. In order to learn more about this in the Bracero program, you can go back one video. Essentially, the Bracero program is a temporary work visa to allow Mexicans to work in the States without having to become citizens. There is limited space in the program though, so there's still a ton of people crossing the border illegally to find work. In 1954, the Bracero program broke down with lots of unhappy people on both sides of the border, and Operation Wetback was getting started. They focused on quick processing and deportation. They had 12 Border Patrol temporary processing stations and began locating, processing, and deporting illegal immigrants using all of their cars, buses, planes, and jeeps. There was some extreme mistreatment of these poor people. There were 750 officers and investigators, 300 jeeps, cars, and buses, and 3 airplanes. Their goals were to coordinate efforts more quickly and increase mobility, as well as getting the persistent to stand down. To make this happen, illegal immigrants would be handed off to Mexican officials and then be deported to central Mexico, where there was a lot of labor opportunities. In 1954, the first year of the program, there were 1,078,168 people deported. 170,000 of those were only from May to June, the very first month of the operation. In the second year, only 242,608 people were apprehended. The majority of people were from border areas in Texas and California, but some other main locations included Los Angeles, San Francisco, and Chicago. These people were deported without time to recover things and without contacting families. They were stranded without food, water, employment, or housing and faced extreme conditions. Some were even left in the desert. In July of 1955, 88 deported workers died in 112-degree heat. Operation Wetback was thought to be considered immediately successful, and there continued to be a large increase in Border Patrol on both sides, and the number of Border Patrol agents doubled to 1,692 in 1962. Not only was everything terrible for these people, they were taken to unfamiliar places without any of their belongings and without a way to contact family or friends. They had to somehow try to find a way home and discover how it was that they would be able to support their families. There were even reports of jailing and beating immigrants before deportation. Though most complaints about deportation were undocumented, 11,000 formal complaints were made from Bracero workers from 1954 to 1964. Now let's talk about segregation. In 1954 was Brown versus Board, which ruled separate schools for black and white kids to be unconstitutional and unjust, and segregation was finally ruled illegal. 1955 was a very big year concerning segregation here in the United States. Many major events occurred to help destroy the separation of people by skin color. One of the major ones would be the murder of Emmett Till. For those of you who don't know, Emmett was a black teenager. His friends dared him to talk to a white woman, so he went into the shop and bought some candy and said, "Thanks, ma'am." Afterwards, when the woman working in the shop was heading to her car, young Till let out a wolf whistle. Later, when Emmett was at his uncle's house, which he was staying at for this summer, 2 white men came to his house, took him somewhere, shot him, mutilated his body, and threw him in the river. Some more events during this long year were the Montgomery bus boycott and when Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat on the bus, marking a very successful year of breaking down barriers. And that's what happened in the 1950s here in America. Once again, my name is Olivia, and thanks for watching this episode of 20th Century Travelers. If you would like to learn more about the 1900s, you can watch some of our other videos. This video was written by me, Olivia, and filmed and edited by Emily. You can find a complete list of my sources for this video right here and down in the video description. Feel free to leave your comments below and tell us what you liked or disliked, ask us questions, or give us more information so that we can make the whole world a better place. And thanks for watching and have a great week.
Tu vuoi fare l'americano, americano, americano.